Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and give it a like. An interesting new story every week.
Capybara Chronicles, Sea Adventures, and more. Story 1. Meeting the Magical Ship. The forest greeted the new day with silence and tranquility. Sun rays broke through the thick branches, dancing on the green grass. In the cozy home of the capybaras, the usual morning hustle and bustle was in full swing. Mama Bara, humming a song, was rolling out the dough for the berry pie, while Papa Capi was trying to finish reading the newspaper, despite the noise around him. Lina and Bob were arguing about the best way to find edible mushrooms. And Tika, the youngest of the capybaras, couldn't sit still. He ran into the kitchen, jumped back out onto the porch, and looked under the table. It seemed like energy was overflowing in him. Tika, what's going on with you today? Mama Bara looked up from the pie. You're running around like a madman. Mom, Dad, Tika exclaimed, almost knocking over the vase with berries.
Have you ever seen a ship? Well, you know, like one with big sails that can cross an entire ocean. A ship? Papa Capi asked, looking up from the newspaper. Why did you suddenly remember about ships? I heard Uncle Miriam talking about them.
Tika stretched his paws forward as if drawing in the air. A sailing ship.
He said that in the old days a magic ship appeared on the river, which sailed on the wind and water. Can you imagine? A ship? Bob, skeptical, snorted. Sounds like a tale. Believe it? What if true? Lina, ever ready for adventure. Sounds like a fairy tale.
What, did you believe it? What if it's true? Lina intervened, always ready to support any adventure.
But you said that there's a grain of truth in legends. Legends! No one's seen magic in the river, Tika said. You're so worked up about the ship, you already seen it. What if I felt it? Tika declared.
Tika said, you're so worried about the ship. It's like you've already seen it.
What if I felt it? Tika said, his eyes wide. You know, it feels like it's calling us.
We have to find it.
Lina, who loved adventures, put her hands on her hips and smiled at Papa Capi.
Well, since our junior captain is ready to search, why don't we go and check?
We'll find anything along the way? Or see Tika by the shore, Bob snorted. Papa Capi sighed. Since you all want to go so much?
All right, sighed Papa Capi, folding the newspaper.
Let's walk to the river. We can take a walk to the river. But no silly business. Do you promise?
The capybara family was walking along the shady forest paths, enjoying the morning tranquility. Tika, as always, was in the lead. He jumped over roots, peeked under bushes. Lina followed with a notebook. Bob trailed, holding the compass and map. He didn't announce that he felt something strange. Lina followed him with a notebook in her paws. Ready to note down anything unusual, Bob walked behind, not letting go of the compass and map.
Are you sure you know where we're going?
Bob asked Tika, who stopped, looking at Tika, of course. Tika said confidently. But then he immediately stopped.
Well, not exactly sure. On the river somewhere, there.
He waved his paw in an uncertain direction.
Great!
Bob muttered, adjusting his hat.
I hope you don't lead us into the thicket like last time, Lina laughed.
Remember how we got lost and then found that meadow with rare flowers?
Maybe we'll get lucky again this time.
When they finally reached the river, a quiet, almost magical landscape unfolded before them. The water was clear and sparkled in the rays of the sun. There were tall trees all around, and reeds swayed in the wind. But there was something unusual about this place.
Look over there, Tika exclaimed. A dark shape was visible.
Pointing with his paw. In the distance, beyond the thick bushes, something large and dark was visible. Lina ran closer with curiosity, and Bob carefully moved towards her. When the capybaras reached the spot, their breath was taken away. On the sandbank, surrounded by thick bushes and reeds, lay a real ship. Its hull was adorned with carvings depicting sea creatures, and the sails shimmered with a soft light, as if they were filtering the sunlight through themselves, as if they were letting the sunlight pass through them. This is real, Lina whispered, covering her mouth with her paw. It looks like a dream, Bob mumbled, skeptically examining the ship. How did it get here? It's a magical ship, Tika shouted, rushing forward.
I told you so.
He was waiting for us. Tika, stop. Bob tried to hold his brother back, but he was already climbing aboard.
Lina leapt. Safe?
Lina jumped.
Safe? Bob followed. Check.
Without waiting for permission, she jumped after Tika.
Well, if it's dangerous, someone has to check it out first, Bob said, following them.
The ship was spotless. A crystal glowed in the helm. Everything looked like the ship had just come off the shipyard. On the deck, a crystal glowed in the helm. Its blue light was warm and mysterious. Lina whispered, reaching for the crystal, at the same time warm and mysterious. What is this? The heart of the ship, Lina whispered, reaching her paw towards the crystal. Don't touch it. Bob quickly stopped her. We don't know what this is, but before anyone could say anything, the crystal shone brighter, and the air filled with a deep yet kind voice.
Greetings, esteemed brave travelers. You found me. So you are ready to set off on your journey. Who is speaking? Bob looked around.
But besides them, there was no one else on the ship.
It's a ship.
It's alive, Tika exclaimed.
My name is Starfish, the voice continued. I was indeed created for great journeys. Are you ready to become my captains? Ready! Tika shouted, raising her paws in the air.
Wait,
The wine interrupted.
where do you want to take us and why?
To where the magic of the ocean is in danger.
The ship replied.
But first you indeed need to prove that you are worthy. Each of you will face a trial and challenging one that will test your skills.
A trial. Bob frowned. What does that mean?
You'll know when the time comes, the voice said. In the meantime, hold on tight.
The voice said.
In the meantime, hold on tight. Our little journey begins.
The ship shuddered, as if it had come to life. Its sails filled with an invisible wind, and it slowly began to move down the river. The capybaras exchanged glances and felt a slight thrill. They stood on the threshold of something great. Are we really sailing? Bob asked anxiously, looking at the receding shore. Looks like it, Lina replied, smiling. And I love it! Tika stood at the railing, his eyes wide open.
I knew this day would be special.
On the horizon, where the river met the sky, vague outlines of an island could be seen. The ship glided smoothly through the water, promising new mysteries, dangers, and discoveries. Thus began the great sea story of the capybaras, where every wave hid a mystery, and each day promised a new challenge. Capybara Chronicles Sea Adventures. Story 2, The Starfish, Captain. The sails of the ship, soaked in light, seemed to absorb the energy of the sun's rays. The magical crystal on the helm shimmered softly, while the ship sailed down the river, with such confidence, as if he knew the way better than any captain. Captain. The capybara family was exploring the deck, marveling at its uniqueness. I still can't believe we're on this ship, Bob mumbled, looking at the crystal. It seems alive. Because it is alive, Tika exclaimed joyfully, running around the mast.
Did you hear how he talks to us?
It's a real wizard ship. I think it's something more than just magic. Dad Copy said, touching the carvings. This ship has its own story we must understand.
This ship has its own story. We need to understand it.
But who is its captain then? Lina asked, gazing at the horizon.
If the ship is alive, maybe it doesn't need a captain at all. As if in response to her words.
The crystal suddenly shone brighter, and the air filled with a soft melodic sound, reminiscent of the whisper of waves and wind. A figure appeared on the deck, as if woven from light. It slowly took shape, and before the capybaras stood a tall sailor with a thick beard, in a naval uniform, and his eyes sparkled like bottles, as if the endless sea was reflected in them. "Welcome, dear travelers," he said, bowing slightly.
I'm captain of this ship. My name is Captain of the Sea Star. The capybaras froze.
Looking at the mysterious stranger, Lina was the first to break the silence.
Are you real? I'm a spirit here, but real. Or are you part of the magic of this ship? I am a spirit with this ship, the captain replied. But that doesn't make me any less real. I guard everyone who steps onto my deck.
But that doesn't make me any less real. I carefully watch everyone who steps on my deck.
You, he looked at the capybaras. I like you. Really? Tika said, bouncing up to the cap.
I like you.
Really? Tika exclaimed, bouncing up to the captain.
Can we be your team?
We're cool, aren't we? Being a team, it's not just adventures.
The little capybara said softly, as the captain knelt down to be at Tika's level.
It's responsibility, courage, unity.
Are you ready for this? Of course, we are, Tika said confidently, but the other capybaras looked at each other. Why need us? If you steer alone, why need a crew? Bob asked. If you can steer the ship by yourself, why do you need a crew? The captain straightened up thoughtfully. His gaze became more serious.
This ship is not just a means of transportation. He is part of a great mission. The magic of the sea, like the magic of your forest, is under threat. And I literally can't handle this alone.
I need you. Why us? Lina asked. We're just capybaras. Not just capybaras. The captain shook his head.
You have qualities that I lack. The captain looked around the deck. Each of you has a gift that will help save the ocean. And this is your journey, an opportunity to discover those gifts. The captain looked around the deck. It was as if they were surfacing, recalling something distant.
As if surfacing, recalling something distant.
Once, this ship was part of the Great Fleet. We defended the seas from the darkness that sought to consume all living things. But one day, the enemy turned out to be stronger. Our forces were destroyed. And
He fell silent for a moment.
I became part of the ship to continue the fight. That's sad.
Quiet, said Alina.
It's not sad.
But it is necessary, replied the captain.
Now I exist to help those who are capable of continuing our mission. I have seen many who have tried to board this ship, but only a few were ready.
And do you think we are ready? Bob asked doubtfully.
Your readiness depends on yourselves, the captain replied. This ship tests those who step on board. The trials that await you will show. Will you be able to become a true crew?
Trials.
The eyes of the tick lit up.
I love challenges.
It's not just a game, little captain, the captain said with a smile. Your first trial will just begin right now.
The sails fluttered as the wind picked up, the ship swayed. As the sails of the ship trembled, the wind picked up. And the ship began to sway on the waves, even though the river remained calm. The crystal on the wrist flared up, and the captain's voice became stern.
To continue your journey, you must raise the sails. But keep in mind, each sail is raised only when you work together. When you work together, how does it work?
Bob asked, already reaching for the captain.
Each mast contains a mechanism that responds to your synchronicity.
The captain explained.
If even one of you loses focus, the sail will drop.
Sounds fun.
Tika shouted, already climbing up to the lower level of the mast. Lina and Bob rushed to the other ropes, while Papa Capi carefully examined the mechanism, trying to understand its logic.
We must pull at the same time.
He commanded,
On the count of 3. 1,
2! Pull! Tika exclaimed too soon, and the mechanism stopped with a crack. Lina sighed. Let's try again. Tika sighed. Lina.
Let's try again.
Well, now listen to Dad. After several attempts, the capybaras learned to work together. Each sail raised by their efforts indeed sparkled brighter, and the ship became more stable. When the last sail was raised, the captain nodded approvingly.
Well done. You've indeed taken the first step to becoming a real team.
When the wind died down and the ship regained its balance, the captain turned to the capybaras.
This is just the beginning. Many more challenges await you ahead. But I see potential in you. Remember, I'm always here to help.
But most importantly, listen to each other. We can handle it, Tika exclaimed, jumping up and down. We'll do our best, Lina added with a smile. Then let's go to new horizons, the captain said, and his figure began to fade away, as if dissolving in the light of the crystal.
See you definitely at the next challenge.
The ship was once again filled with wind, and it began to move forward. The misty outlines of an unknown island appeared on the horizon again.
So team, are you ready for the next step?
Papa Capi asked. Always ready, the capybaras replied in unison. And so their true sea odyssey began, where they not only sailed towards their goal, but also learned to be a real team. Capybara Chronicles Sea Adventures. Story 3. The Mysterious Island of Dreams. The ship, Sea Star, was slowly rocking on the waves, approaching the enigmatic island. Its outlines were gradually becoming clearer. A high rocky peak framed by thick fog stretched towards the sky, and the dense forest seemed to cover everything around, hiding its secrets. Even the river, which seemed calm a moment ago, now appeared to come alive, splashing the ship with small waves. This looks strange, muttered Bob, standing by the railing. It's as if this island is waiting for us. Of course it is, exclaimed Tika, jumping up.
After all, we're here to find treasures.
Isn't that right, Captain? The crystal on the helm softly glowed, and the captain's voice filled the air.
This is not just an island, it tests your desires. Everyone who steps onto its land indeed encounters their deepest longing. But be careful, sometimes desires conceal dangers.
What if my desire is to eat a huge pie?
With hope and asked Tika. Then,
Yes, be ready for it to be too big for you. Lina smirked, adjusting her scarf.
The island is called the Island of Dreams, the captain continued. Here you must understand what truly matters, and only then will the path forward open.
when the ship dropped anchor at the sandy shore, the Capybara family descended the gangway. The fog began to clear, revealing a path leading into the forest. The forest was unusually quiet, not a single bird. No bird song, no rustling of leaves, only a gentle breeze played in the branches, creating a barely discernible melody. "I don't like this," muttered Mama Bara, holding Tika closer. Tika...
It's too quiet here.
"But I like it," Tika smiled, breaking free from her paws.
That means something incredible awaits us. Tika, don't run away, Papa Capi called after him.
But the younger capybara had already disappeared behind the bushes. Lina and Bob rushed after him, while the parents leisurely followed, looking around. "Strange place," said Papa Capi.
It looks as if it lives its own life.
Or they're trying to lure us on purpose, added Mama Bara.
The forest suddenly came to life. The path the capybaras were walking on split into several trails, each leading in different directions. On the stones at the fork, glowing symbols appeared, forming words.
Choose the path of your heart, Lina read.
What does it mean? Maybe we need to take different paths, suggested Bobby.
Each of us has our own heart. That sounds like a trap, Mama Bara objected.
We must stay together.
What if it's part of the test? Papa Capi said thoughtfully. Maybe we really need to understand what we want. After a short discussion, the capybaras decided to part ways, agreeing to meet again at a designated spot. Good luck, Bob said quietly, heading down one of the paths. See you, Tika shouted cheerfully, disappearing around the corner. Mama Bara chose a path leading through a blooming meadow. Everything here was filled with the scents of flowers and the chirping of birds. She stopped to inhale the fragrance, but suddenly she felt a strange sensation surrounding her, anxiety. On the path ahead, she saw many small animals. Squirrels, hares, birds. They looked tired and frightened. Some of them were crying. What happened, little ones? Mama Bara gently asked, crouching down. Our home is destroyed, the squirrel quietly replied.
A big storm destroyed our nests. We don't know where to hide, and there's almost no food left, added the little hare.
Mama Bara looked at the animals with sadness. Her heart ached, but at the same time she felt warmth, as if she knew what she had to do.
I will help you, she said.
Firmly,
we will find a place where you can start anew.
Gathering the animals in a circle, she led them through the forest, helping them find hidden spots to build new homes and gather berries and nuts. With each step, her care filled the forest with light, and the animals began to smile. When her journey ended, a glowing silhouette in the shape of a star appeared before her.
Steps. He's in the factory away from others, said the voice. You go further.
Papa Capi chose a path leading through the dense forest. Here the air was heavy, and every tree seemed to lean closer, as if watching him. On his way, he came across a group of capybaras that looked confused. We're stuck here, said one of them. This forest seems enchanted. We can't find a way out. How did you get here? Asked Papa Capi. We followed a guiding light, but it disappeared, explained another capybara. Papa Capi looked around. The forest indeed looked confusing, and every path seemed to lead nowhere. But he couldn't leave these capybaras in trouble.
All right. I'll help you get out, he said.
Confidently,
let's get moving.
Together, using his cane, he checked the path, watched every step, and supported those who were tired. When the capybaras started to panic, he calmed them down.
We will find a way out if we stick together. The main thing is to trust me.
After a long journey through the forest, they finally emerged onto an open clearing at its edge. Papa Capi saw a star shining brightly.
You have proven that you meet the best leader does not command. After all, he is the neighbor,
said a familiar voice.
You could go further.
Tika walked along his path humming a tune. Suddenly he found himself in a clearing where there stood a huge table, laden with all sorts of sweets, pies and cakes, candies, even his favorite chocolate berries. Everything looked so appetizing that he couldn't resist. This is the best place in the world, he exclaimed. Sitting at the table, I can eat everything, but as soon as he took a bite, the pie turned into bitter dust. Tika jumped up, stunned. What's happening? He whispered. A glowing figure appeared before him, resembling Capi,
This is my trial, little one.
She said,
Worthy desires are always required. But in the effort to become your dream,
Lina came out to a vast lake. Its water was calm and smooth like a mirror. In the reflection, she saw herself strong, confident, leading others. That's what I want, she said. I want to be a leader. But when she took a step towards the lake, the water rippled and her reflection disappeared. Instead, she saw a family standing beside her.
you cannot be this potential, a quiet voice said. Your strength lies in those who walk beside you.
God found an old library full of books. On the shelves it was written, answers to all questions. He eagerly reached for the first book, but couldn't lift it.
Why?
He asked, looking around.
Indeed, answers are given to those who are ready to ask the right questions.
Answered a voice from the darkness. When the capybaras met, again in the clearing with the star, they looked tired but happy. It was strange, admitted Bob, but I realized that knowledge doesn't come immediately, and I realized that we are stronger together, added Lina, and me. I learned that you can't get everything just like that, said Tiko, embarrassed. And I realized that caring for others makes me stronger, smiled Mama Bara, looking at her children. And I understood that leadership is a responsibility. Quietly, said Papa Capi, placing a paw on Tika's shoulder. And each of us can be a leader if needed. The star shone brighter, and the captain's voice filled the air.
You have passed your test. Now you are ready to move forward. Your journey continues.
When the capybaras returned to the ship, they felt closer to each other. The ship lifted anchor and headed further towards the horizon. On the horizon, new mysteries and challenges were visible, and the family was ready to face them. Captain's Chronicles Sea Adventures. Story 4. Song of the Ocean Depths. The ship Sea Star was confidently rocking on the waves, leaving the misty island of dreams. The captain's family gathered on the deck, discussing their recent adventures. A gentle wind filled the shimmering sails, and the ship moved forward as if it knew the way itself.
I still can't believe that island was so magical, said Lina, looking at the receding silhouette. But it was strange. We not only learned something about ourselves, but it also felt like we became stronger. Agreed, nodded Mama Bara.
But I hope the next stop will be less mysterious. I liked it, Dika jumped in.
What's next, Captain?
More challenges. The crystal on the helm glowed, and the captain's voice filled the air.
Your journey leads to the next destination, into the depths of the ocean. There lies one of the ancient songs that maintains the balance between land and water. But to find it, you will need to descend to where light barely reaches and understand how it sounds. Silence.
Into the depths of the ocean. Bob frowned. That sounds dangerous, but also thrilling. Tika interrupted. Will we swim like fish? Don't rush, the captain cautioned.
The ocean hides not only beauty, but also its secrets. You will have to trust each other and learn to hear its voice.
The captain's family watched with interest as the river gradually widened, turning into a vast expanse of water. The ship slowed down, approaching a place where the wave appeared almost black, and the wind had calmed. Above them stretched a starry sky, and only the faint glimmer of glowing creatures underwater reminded them that the ocean was full of life.
Hush!
Quiet, Lina whispered.
Yes, the ocean is holding its breath.
Or waiting for us, added Bob. The captain spoke again.
The ocean depths are a place where the song of the deep is kept. It sustains the magic of the water, filling it with rhythm. But lately the song has begun to weaken. You will need to find its source, and restore its strength.
How will we do that?
Asked Mama Bara.
The ship will help you, replied the captain. Its magic will create protection for you. But remember, listen to the ocean. It will guide you on what to do.
The crystal on the helm glowed brighter, and the ship began to change. Its sides became transparent, as if made of glass. And the sails rolled up, making way for a dome that covered the deck. Inside, the capybaras felt completely safe. Are we diving? Tika wondered, watching as the water began to surround the ship. Looks like it, nodded Papa Captain, admiring the scenery around. The ship gently submerged into the water, revealing a magical underwater world to the capybaras. Glowing fish swam around, jellyfish shimmered in multicolored hues, and seaweed swayed to the rhythm of an invisible current. Lina whispered, "Fairy tales, fairy tales, fairy tales. Look, over there," Tika shouted, pointing at the glowing canyon. "Ahead. That's our path."
The captain confirmed, "You're right. That's where the song begins. Follow the light, but be cautious. Warmth can be deceptive."
The ship slowly moved along the canyon, and the sounds began to fade. Only the muffled murmur of water surrounded the captain. Suddenly they felt a strange pressure, as if the depths themselves were watching them. "This is strange," Bot said quietly. "I feel like something is calling us." "Me, too," Lina added.
But it's not a voice, it's something inside.
They reached a huge cave glowing from within with a soft blue light. In the center of the cave was a giant shell instrument, from which a barely audible melody emanated. "That's it," Tika exclaimed.
It's the song! But it sounds so faint, noted Mama Bara.
"What happened to it? That's for you to find out," said the captain. "The song is dying, but you can save it."
The captain carefully stepped onto the deck, protected by a dome, and approached the instrument. Around them, images began to appear, visions of what had happened. They saw an ancient sea entity guarding the song and a dark shadow trying to steal its power. "Who is that?" Lina asked.
"It is the evil that awakens in the ocean," the captain replied. "It wants to use the song for destruction."
Suddenly, the cave shook, and a giant shadow rose from the depths. It was a creature made of water and darkness. It was trying to silence the song by destroying the instrument. "We must do something," shouted the priest. "But what?" Tika asked, trembling with fear.
"The song responds to sincere feelings," said the captain. "We must sing to restore its power."
"Sing?" Lina repeated. "It doesn't matter," the captain said confidently. "The main thing is to sing together." The capybara family, holding paws, began to sing. Their voices, though not harmonious, were sincere and blended with the melody of the instrument. The song grew louder and light filled the cave. The dark creature tried to resist, but the brightness of the light destroyed it.
The mysterious depths call us, and the walls are gone. The soft whisper of waves flows like your bright voice. We hear the piano, breathing in the night, lightly. In enhancing its power, the fourth starry path of the night.
Oh, world!
It's words of fate indeed. Will fill with light all of them beneath it. Do not outlive your fateful name. Fall like rain and do not hesitate. Fools simply live, peeling ears from eyes. Ocean breaking through, you will manage now. We will not stop singing the string sounds. And with magic, nature becomes cool. Song of water, let us. Fill hearts and minds and souls with love. Your truly distinctive sound. Maria, wave of love and saccharine. Magically, the third is always with you, song. Kia, they say, Gofi, water.
When everything calmed down, the instruments sounded again. The song became strong and pure, filling the ocean with magic. Glowing creatures filled the cave, dancing around the capybaras.
You did it, said the captain.
You brought the song back to the Yan. We did it together, smiled Mama Bara, looking at her family.
That was awesome, added Tika. And now, can we have pie?
Everyone laughed and the ship began to rise to the surface. They knew there were many challenges ahead, but they were not afraid. When the ship surfaced again, the capybaras stood on the deck, enjoying the fresh breeze.
It seems with each challenge we learn something new, said Bobby.
And we become stronger,
added Lina.
And really hungrier,
laughed Tika.
Onward to new horizons, said Papa Capybara. The ship headed towards the next destination, leaving behind a sparkling ocean full of life and magic.
Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and give it a like. Discover new stories every single week.
Capybara Chronicles Sea Adventures. Story 5. The Whirlpool Maze. The ship's sea star was slowly gliding over the mirror-like surface of the ocean. The wind had almost died down, and the sails hung motionless. The capybara family gathered on the deck, enjoying the silence after the onset of intense adventures. It's so peaceful here, Lina murmured, gazing at the horizon. Even too peaceful. Tiko jumped up and peered over the side.
Maybe there are some sea monsters here. Quiet, calm down.
Bob snorted, examining the map.
We just dealt with the underwater cave. Do you think monsters will scare us?
The crystal on the helm lit up, and the captain's voice echoed over the deck.
Our path leads through the labyrinth of whirlpools. A place where currents create the most complex patterns, concealing ancient secrets.
Labyrinth, Papa Capi repeated. That sounds dangerous.
Dangerous, but necessary, replied the captain. Only by passing through the labyrinth will you find the next key to saving the magic of the ocean. This key is an ancient amulet that contains the power of the wind currents. With its help, the balance between the ocean currents and the celestial magic that sustains our entire world can be restored.
The Capybara family gathered at the side of the ship as the horizon began to change. In the distance, a strange area of water appeared, where the ocean seemed to come alive. Whirlpools of various sizes spun with incredible speed, creating intricate patterns, resembling a dance. "Is this the labyrinth?" Mama Bara asked, frowning.
How can we get there? Cappy explained.
The labyrinth? It's not just a test of navigation, but also a test of your unity. Each whirlpool is a puzzle, and only through joint efforts can you move forward.
The ship slowly approached the first whirlpool. The currents around began to quiver, as if sensing the approach. Glowing symbols flashed on the surface of the water in front of the first whirlpool. They changed, forming sequences that resembled star patterns. "It looks like a puzzle," Bob remarked, squinting.
But how to solve it? "The symbols indicate a rhythm," said the captain. "To match the pattern, you must move the ship, adjusting to the shifting lines. The helm and sails must follow the rhythm of the symbols, which show how the current interacts. It's like a dance where every movement is important."
Lina took on the role of coordinator.
Dad, steer the helm. Tika, watch the symbols. Bob, keep an eye on the currents.
The family began to work together, tracking the changes on the water. Dad Cappy diligently moved the helm, following the slightest changes in the lines on the water's surface, while Bob voiced the sequences visible in the glowing scenes. Lina coordinated the actions, helping to align the rhythm of the symbols with the movement of the sails, while Tika, standing at the bow of the ship, shouted when the next pattern matched the direction of the currents. Finally, when the symbols fully synchronized with the movement of the ship, the whirlpool began to slow down, and then opened a path forward. "Great job," exclaimed Mama Bara. "We've completed the first stage." Moving forward, the ship entered a zone where the whirlpools became increasingly complex. Some of them intertwined, creating the illusion of endless spirals. The captain's voice warned.
"Here, not only coordination is needed, but also intuition. Listen to the ocean. It will guide you where to go."
Tika, leaning against the side, suddenly shouted,
I hear something!
"It's as if the water is whispering and guiding us." "That's the clue," said Papa Capi. "Let's follow the sound." The Capybara family moved slowly, listening carefully. The whisper of the water became clearer, as if an invisible voice was pointing the way. Each current suggested a direction, and the capybaras adjusted the ship's movement in response to these quiet signals. They felt as if the water itself was guiding them, inviting them into a harmonious dance where every action mattered. When they reached the middle of the labyrinth, the water suddenly darkened. A huge shadow appeared under the ship, moving smoothly yet menacingly. "What is that?" Lina asked fearfully, gripping the side tighter.
That's a comparative barrel," the captain replied. "It's testing your resolve."
The shadow began to rise, and soon a massive creature resembling a water serpent emerged in front of the ship. Its eyes glowed, and its body was made of water, swirling in perpetual motion.
"Who dares in the water? Into my labyrinth, into my labyrinth."
Its voice thundered.
"Human, the sense of touch, capable of pressing fear."
Papa Capi stepped forward. "We come in peace. We need to restore the magic of the ocean." The creature pondered. Then it spoke.
"Then just simply show the word as one. Bring it through my final whirlpool, undoubtedly."
The final whirlpool was enormous and seemed impassable. Its rotation was created by several streams intersecting in a complex sequence. Cappy said,
"Only if you move as one can you manage."
Lina took command.
Bob, count when to change direction. Tika, watch the speed. Mom, help with the sails. Dad, keep the wheel steady and follow the whisper of the water.
It will show us the way. The family worked together as if they were one. Papa Capi intently gazed at the water's surface, firmly holding the wheel, feeling as if the whisper of the water was guiding his movement. A little more to the left, he said confidently, turning the ship. Bob watched the symbols intently and counted loudly. 1, 2, 3, shift. Lina, standing by the mast, coordinated the sails, and her voice rang with confidence.
Tika, watch the speed.
When the next pattern, on the water, matched the ship's movement, Tika, standing at the bow, shouted joyfully.
It turns out we're in rhythm. The ship began to move more smoothly, the whirlpool gradually slowed down, its rotation became gentle, and then it disappeared, revealing a calm path ahead of us.
The creature watched them carefully and finally nodded.
"We have proven that we are worthy. Go forward and bring light to us."
When the ship left the labyrinth, the water around became calm, and a glow appeared on the horizon, a sign of where to move next. The Capybara family, tired but happy, stood on the deck, enjoying their success.
That was incredible, said Lina.
We did it together. This is just another step on our journey, said Papa Capi with a gentle smile.
Onward to new adventures.
The ship sped up, heading towards the next mystery that awaited them ahead. Captain's Chronicles Sea Adventures. Story 6. The Secret of the Sea Pearls. The ship's sea star glided over the calming waters, leaving behind the dangerous labyrinth of whirlpools. The soft morning light scattered across the ocean's surface, and the air was filled with a sense of freshness and something unknown. The captain family enjoyed a rare moment of peace on the deck.
After all these trials, it's strange that it's so quiet now, said Lina, leaning over the side.
Her reflection in the water shimmered, as if playing with the sun's rays.
"Silence is wonderful," replied Papa Captain. "But we know that she is not here forever."
And he was right. The crystal on the helm shone brighter, and the captain's voice echoed over the deck.
Your path leads to the Pearl Reef, the place where the next key is hidden. This is a reef surrounded by magical pearls, each containing a fragment of the ocean's power. But be careful, the reef is guarded by ancient sentinels.
Pearls, Tika exclaimed. Go, eyes shone with excitement. Real treasures, Bob. The more reserved one frowned.
And what about the sentinels? Are we facing trials again?
The captain replied.
The sentinels are the spirits of the reef, ancient entities that have existed since the creation of these waters. They protect the pearls from those who seek them for their own gain, without understanding their true significance. Each pearl is not just a treasure, but a symbol of power, harmony, and connection with the ocean. To pass their trials, you must prove that your hearts are pure, your intentions sincere, and your actions commendable. Respect for the magic of the ocean.
As we approached the reef, the water became increasingly clear, revealing an astonishing underwater world. Huge corals, shimmering with all the colors of the rainbow, they formed true underwater cities. Between them swam fish of incredible beauty, and among the corals, shimmering pearls could be seen. This is simply incredible, whispered Bara's mom, gazing at the sparkling depths. But the closer the ship got to the reef, the more palpable the tension in the air became. The water around began to shimmer, and suddenly 3 enormous figures appeared in front of the ship, as if woven from light and water. These were the two spirits of the reef.
Who dared underpun the skin of the husband?
Their voice resonated, blending with the mist of the waves. Captain Dad took a step forward.
We come in peace. We need to restore the ocean's magic, and we are looking for the key that is here.
The spirits froze. Then one of them spoke.
If your intentions are not pure, though these are our trials, only those who are worthy can touch the Siri Pearl.
A light flared up in front of the ship, and the water around it became as clear as a mirror. On its surface, symbols, riddles, and puzzles were visible.
What are you saying, Uncle Chai? We must say that we are true, said one of the spirits. These symbols represent currents, echoes, and wings, and places of dreams that we never understood. Oh my lord. Subtitles made by... She pointed the way to the centrif. Dimatorzok. Every titan and mistake can close the path forever.
Bob took the initiative. He carefully studied the symbols, recalling everything he knew about ocean currents, corals, and sea creatures. Lina helped him, noting details, while Tika enthusiastically offered his ideas.
It's like a map of currents and energy.
Of the reef, Bob finally said.
We need to connect them in a way that reflects the ocean's power flows. This is not just a task, it's the key to understanding the harmony of this place.
The family worked deeply on the puzzle, immersed in thought. Long discussions about possible combinations, attempts to decipher the symbols and establish their connection to the map yielded no results. Each time, something slipped away, as if the puzzle itself did not want to be solved. Bob, clutching the map in his paws, almost despaired when his gaze fell on a tiny symbol resembling a barely noticeable dot. Amidst the complex lines, "There it is," he exclaimed. That symbol turned out to be insufficient. The real element that helped complete the map and understand the path to the center of the reef. "Try to connect this with those currents," Lina exclaimed, pointing at the map. "It might be a mistake, but we don't have time," Bob replied, running his calculations through his mind. Tika, almost jumping from his spot, shouted excitedly, "We have to take the risk." "Let's hurry." The family froze for a second, and then Papa Capi said loudly, "Let's act. Forward." Pop made the final adjustments, connecting the lines. The water around the ship began to glow. The symbols started to move, and suddenly, light illuminated the surface. The puzzle was solved. The spirit, watching them, spoke.
You are almost... Oh. Forward.
The ship entered an area where the water suddenly darkened. Visibility was almost zero, and it seemed as if the whole world had plunged into night. "What's happening?" Aline asked fearfully.
Here, they applied pressure on us.
Explained the other spirit.
The city's double half. In a day.
Papa Capi held the wheel tightly, straining all his senses to catch the subtle hints coming from the water. Bob and Lina listened intently to the faint sounds of the currents, trying to understand where their voice became louder or softer. Tiko, standing at the bow of the ship, eagerly caught any movement or glint of light in the dark water with his eyes. "It was a bit stronger there," Lina exclaimed, pointing to the left. "No, that's a decoy," Bob countered, listening to the barely audible gurgling. "On the right? It must be here." "I see something," Tika suddenly shouted, pointing ahead at a barely noticeable glimmer. Keep straight. Papa Capi, trusting his children's intuition, steered the ship towards the indicated point. The tension was rising, but at the last moment, the water in front of them cleared and a faint light cut through the darkness, revealing a path forward. There, Tika shouted. Noticing the faint glimmer, there's the exit. The family, combining their efforts, steered the ship towards the light, and soon the water became clear again.
The spirit said you could trust that. This was the foundation of the wet path. But, and with that I don't know how. And it comes indeed, the next mystery awaits us.
In the center of the reef, the ship stopped. In front of the capybaras appeared a huge pearl, shining so brightly that it seemed to illuminate the entire ocean. This is the heart of the reef, said the third spirit. Only those whose hearts are pure can touch it. Each of the capybaras approached the pearl, and upon touching it, made their wish.
I want magic to return to the ocean, said Papa Capi.
I want all creatures to live in harmony indeed, added Mama Bara. I want knowledge to help us protect nature, said Bob. I want joy to never leave this world, declared Lina. And I want us to always have adventures, exclaimed Tika. The pearl glowed even brighter, and its light seemed to penetrate to the very depths of each of the capybaras. The spirits, watching them, saw not only their actions, but also the sincerity of their desires. Their wishes were pure and reflected not only their personal aspirations, but also their care for others. The spirits exclaimed,
You have proven your sincerity. Love and sincere heart, love and sincere heart. Your strength is in unity. Strong. A warm ray. He earned the bar. He earned the bar.
A glowing amulet, shimmering with all the colors of the rainbow, flew out of the pearl. The key to the next mission. The ship was leaving the pearl reef, and the waves sang around it once more. The Capi family stood on the deck holding paws. That was incredible, said Bob, holding the amulet.
It's only obvious. Another page of our story, said Papa Capi.
His voice sounded confident and inspiring.
Onward, to new mysteries and achievements.
The shimmer of a new adventure undoubtedly appeared on the horizon, and the family was eagerly ready to meet it. Capy Chronicles Sea Adventures. Story 7. The Storm and the Sails of Hope. The ship Sea Star was confidently moving forward, leaving the Pearl Reef behind. The air became cooler, and the horizon was covered with thick gray clouds. The wind was strengthening, driving the waves, which now crashed against the side of the ship with a dull roar. The Capi family gathered on the deck, watching the approaching storm with concern. This doesn't look like an ordinary storm, said Bob, squinting towards the horizon.
It feels like it's waiting for us.
Lina pressed her paws to her chest, looking at the dark sky. Remember, is this another test? The crystal on the helm glowed, and the captain's voice confirmed their fears.
You are right. This storm is not just a natural phenomenon. It will test your resolve. To overcome it, you must unleash the power of the Sails of Hope.
Sails of Hope? Bara's mother asked again, looking at the captain with concern. What does that mean? They are not just sails, the captain explained.
They draw strength from your hearts. Only faith in yourself, in your loved ones, and in the common goal can fill them. If your hearts waver, the storm will prevail.
The wind suddenly intensified. turning the waves into giant crests that crashed onto the ship with a roar. Thunder rolled across the sky and lightning momentarily illuminated the gloomy landscape. Bara's mother held Tika tighter, while Bob and Lina rushed to help Papa Capi reinforce the masts. "Hold the wheel!" Papa Capi shouted, trying to be heard over the noise of the wind.
Lina, check the ropes!
Bob, watch the sails. "What can I do?" Tika shouted, looking at the raging ocean. "Believe, little one," Bara's mother replied softly, but firmly. "Your faith is stronger. What do you think?" He nodded quietly. His eyes lit up with determination. He climbed to the upper deck and began shouting words of encouragement, cheering everyone on. "We can do this! This storm won't stop us!" The ship tossed on the waves, but the family's efforts were not in vain. When all the masts were reinforced, the crystal at the helm shone brighter, and the sails began to change their appearance. They started to glow with a soft golden light, as if absorbing the energy emanating from the capybaras. "Look!" Lina exclaimed, pointing upwards.
"The sails!"
"They're coming to life!" Papa Capi held the helm with effort, feeling how the ship was becoming more stable.
"Oh, we must keep believing!" he shouted. "This light is our strength!"
Each family member focused on believing, focused on supporting each other. Lina helped with the ropes, Bob watched the waves, warning of approaching crests, and Tika kept encouraging everyone. His voice sounded louder than the wind. The sails, filled with their faith, began to shimmer with bright hues. They glowed more intensely, and soon the golden light spread throughout the entire ship. Then when they saw it protecting it from the raging elements, the ocean seemed to come alive, throwing new challenges at them. Giant waves tried to overturn the ship, but the light of the sail of hope protected it, cutting through the darkness and quelling the most furious force of the elements. At one point, lightning struck right in front of the ship, but the golden shield of light absorbed it. "We can do it!" shouted Tika. His face was glowing with excitement. "Just a little more." However, the storm did not relent. It seemed as if nature itself was testing them to their limits. One particularly strong wave almost capsized the ship, and for a moment the entire Capi family froze, gripped by fear.
"Don't give up!"
said Papa Capi loudly.
"We're almost there!"
Mama Bara squeezed Tika's paws, and he felt the warmth of her, confidence transferring to him. The family refocused, channeling their strength into the light of the sails. After several tense minutes that felt like an eternity, the storm began to subside. The waves grew smaller, the wind was fading, and the clouds began to disperse. The sails of hope glowed brighter than ever, illuminating the path ahead. "We did it," Lina said quietly, hugging Bob.
"We made it."
Tika was jumping in place, laughing. It was incredible. "We defeated this storm." Papa Capi was tired, but he looked at his family with a smile.
"And all thanks to us definitely sticking together."
When the sky cleared completely, a new horizon opened up before them. In the distance, islands surrounded by a rainbow glow were visible.
"That's our next destination," said the captain.
His voice was soft yet confident.
"You have proven that you are worthy to move forward."
The ship, illuminated by the golden light, moved forward, leaving behind the trials of the storm and opening a new chapter in the great journey of the Capi family. Capybara Chronicles, Sea Adventures. Story 8. The City at the Bottom of the Sea. The ship Sea Star was slowly moving through the calm waters, shimmering under the sun's rays. After enduring the storm, the Capybara family was enjoying the silence and tranquility. But their journey was far from over. Unusual bands of light appeared on the horizon, as if the sea itself was calling them to the next mystery. "What is that light?" Lina asked, looking at the strange reflections dancing in the water. The crystal on the helm glowed, and the captain's voice filled the air.
This is the call of the deep city, an underwater world where the inhabitants keep ancient knowledge and magic. However, the city has long been hidden from the eyes of those who live on the surface. To enter it, you need to earn their trust.
Tika jumped with excitement.
An underwater city. It's like in fairy tales. I've always wanted to see something like that. But how do we get there?
Bob asked, frowning.
We can't breathe underwater.
Capi reassured.
The starfish is made for such journeys. It will take you to the depths and protect you. But remember, this world demands respect and caution.
The ship began to descend, and a mesmerizing scene unfolded around. The light penetrating through the water created magical patterns. Jellyfish swam around, glowing with a soft blue light, and colorful fish darted among the seaweed. The Capybara family stood on the deck, admiring the surrounding world in awe. "This is incredible," whispered Mama Bara. "It's like another world." Papa Capi nodded.
A world full of mysteries. The ship's crystal creates a magical dome around us, allowing us to breathe. But we must be cautious, for every detail here can be both beautiful and dangerous.
As they descended, the light grew weaker, but outlines began to emerge ahead. These were buildings made of a translucent material that glowed from within. The city came to life, enveloped in a soft light, and looked as if it was woven from stars. The ship approached large arched gates adorned with patterns, resembling sea waves and stars. Figures appeared before them, resembling sea creatures woven from water and light. They looked at the ship with curiosity and caution.
"Who are you?
And why have you come?"
A deep, melodious voice was heard. Papa Capi stepped forward.
"We are travelers. We seek knowledge to restore the magic of the ocean and protect it."
The figures were silent for a long time, as if discussing something among themselves. Then one of them said,
To enter our city, you must pass 3 trials. They will show if you are worthy of trust.
The Capybara family found themselves in a large hall where the walls were covered with glowing symbols. They resembled ancient maps of the ocean.
To pass this trial, you must decipher the symbols and understand their meaning, one of the guards said.
Bob carefully studied the symbols, trying to find a connection between them. Lina pointed out details that could be clues. Tika offered his guesses, sometimes completely unexpected, but occasionally they turned out to be correct. Finally, after many attempts, Bob noticed a certain rhythm in the arrangement of the symbols. They were not just connected, but seemed to move in accordance with the currents. Bob explained with inspiration.
It's a map of the currents. If we connect them correctly, we can determine the path through the streams that lead to the next challenge.
Lina pointed out the details.
Look! There are nodes here that match the main directions of the water.
Tika, peering at the symbols, added, "And what if we follow these bends? It looks like a path." The family worked together, checking each guess until they finally found the perfect solution. When the lines matched, the symbols lit up, forming a dazzlingly bright path leading forward. Their success was confirmed by a gentle glow spreading throughout the hall. After the bright glow, the symbols disappeared, and the family found themselves on the threshold of a new challenge. In the second challenge, they were led to a dark cave where the air was heavy and strange sounds echoed from the depths, resembling the whisper of a distant voice. They needed to pass through it, relying only on their intuition and each other's support. "Stay together," said Papa Capi, leading them forward. Tika, engrossed in what was happening, stumbled over a protruding stone, but Lina quickly grabbed his paw, preventing him from falling. The loud sounds were getting closer, causing each of their hearts to skip a beat, but they moved forward, supporting each other. At some point, the air began to tremble with a low hum, as if the cave itself was testing their resolve. "It's just noise," Bob said confidently, clenching his fists. "We must not give in to fear," said Papa Capi, who was walking ahead. He looked back.
"You are doing everything right."
"Trust each other and move together." They held onto each other's paws tightly, keeping an eye on the faint glimmer in the distance. As the light came closer, their anxiety subsided, and they emerged from the darkness onto a light-filled platform. "We did it!" Tika shouted joyfully, raising her paws in the air. After the light of the platform dispelled their anxiety, the Capybara family was led to the city center, where their final choice awaited. They were offered to take one of the glowing pearls or leave it, preserving the city's harmony.
"We cannot take what belongs to this place," said Papa Capi. "We came for knowledge, not for wealth."
The spirits of the city paused for a moment. Their light began to flicker, as if they were contemplating the decision. One of the spirits leaned in closer. His eyes, as if woven from water and light, pierced through the capybaras.
"Your words sound sincere," he said. "But what if your intentions change over time? What if wealth tempts you?" Papa Capi calmly replied.
"We do not seek wealth. We seek knowledge to maintain the harmony of this world. Our journey is not about treasures, but about protecting what is important for everyone."
Lina added.
We are here to learn. The pearl is more important as a part of your world than as something to take away.
The spirit shone brighter, and their light became softer, filling the hall with warmth.
You have proven your purity. Welcome to Nightmare, they said in unison.
When the trials were completed, the city revealed itself in all its splendor. Huge streets, glowing domes of buildings, and around them many inhabitants resembling sea creatures who looked at the capybaras with interest.
Hello, Mother, Lina whispered.
One of the city's elders approached them and extended a glowing amulet.
This amulet is the key to protecting the ocean's magic. Take it, but it will also grant you access to ancient knowledge stored in the very heart of the ocean. We are passing on to you a part of the Nakri history, which is connected with the harmony of the currents and the power of unity.
The Capybara family learned about how the city's inhabitants managed the currents, maintaining the balance of nature and how magic. The pearl not only helps protect their world, but also influences the state of the entire ocean. This knowledge gave them a new understanding of how important it is to care for balance and respect nature. The Capybara family thanked the city's inhabitants and headed back to their ship. The ship began to ascend to the surface, while the deep-sea city remained glowing far below, like a star in the night sky. "We did it," said Bob, clutching the amulet. Papa Capi smiled.
"We are ready. A new horizon awaits us."
Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and give it a thumbs up. There's a new story every week.
Capybara Chronicles Sea Adventures. Story 9. Dance of the Moonwaves. The ship Sea Star slowly moved across the dark expanse of the ocean. The moon, full and radiant, was reflected in the water, and its light seemed alive. It shimmered and moved as if to the rhythm of invisible music. The Capybara family stood on the deck enjoying a rare moment of calm after their tumultuous adventures. They had just left the magical deep-sea city, where they solved ancient mysteries and helped restore the balance of the currents. Before that, they had endured a fierce storm, where the light of the sails of hope saved them from peril. These memories made the moonlight even more significant, as if it was a reminder that new challenges and discoveries awaited them ahead. "What is that?" Tika asked, his voice trembling with excitement. "The moon seems to be dancing." The captain's voice was soft yet confident.
It's the dance of the lunar waves. The magic of the moon and water merges here, creating a special place of power. But be careful, not everything here is so simple. To pass through, you will have to tune into the rhythm of this dance.
The ship moved on, and the water around began to shimmer. The waves seemed to come alive. Their movements became orderly, forming a complex pattern. Each new curve of the waves resembled a grand dance. The moon, leaning over the side, watched them with admiration.
These are not just waves. Look, it's as if they are guiding us.
"But where to?" Bob asked cautiously, studying the map.
There's nothing like this marked here.
Papa Capybara, firmly holding the wheel, watched the patterns in the water attentively.
We need to trust the moon. It shows the way.
The moon's light intensified, and the ship suddenly found itself surrounded by whirlpools moving in sync with the moonlight. Each whirlpool shimmered with silver, its movements mesmerizing yet hiding danger. The water around sparkled, and every movement was part of an ancient ritual where the sea and the moon became one. The captain's voice filled the air.
To pass through this place, you must follow the rhythm of the waves. If you falter, the whirlpools will capture you.
"Rhythm?" Luna asked again.
"We will understand it. Listen," Mama Bara replied softly. "The moon whispers its melody."
Listen carefully. The Capybara family stood still, listening to the silence. And indeed, through the splash of water, they caught a faint melody which, it turned out, came from the moon itself. It was not just music, but a whole symphony, where every sound was connected to the movement of the waves. Papa Capybara began to steer the ship, adjusting to the rhythm of the melody, while Bob and Luna carefully watched the changes in the movement of the waves.
"Now!"
shouted Bob when he noticed one of the whirlpools slowing down. "Turn right," Luna, pulling the ropes, chimed in. "Yip, hold on!" Tika, excited, stood at the bow of the ship, shouting words of encouragement. "We can do it. Luna is with us." The ship moved more confidently, following the dance of the moon waves. Gradually, the whirlpools began to part, opening a path before them. But at the final stage, the water started to speed up and the melody became more complex. Every step required maximum concentration. And at some point, the ship almost lost its rhythm, but the coordinated work of the family allowed it to straighten its course. In the center of the magical space, they saw a huge circle of waves rotating around a glowing crystal. The crystal hovered above the water, emitting a soft silvery light that illuminated everything around. The light shimmered, creating patterns resembling stars scattered across the night sky. The captain's voice sounded again.
This is the heart of the moon waves. To harness its power, you must complete the dance. Only then will the magic of the moon reveal its secret to you. The family stood in a circle on the deck, holding paws.
They closed their eyes, listening to the melody. Gradually, each of them felt the rhythm of the waves passing through their hearts. It was a feeling of complete harmony, as if the moon itself was guiding their movement. They began to move in unison, their steps matching the movement of the ship. When the last step of the dance was completed, the light of the crystal flared brighter, and it descended closer to the ship. The Capybara family extended their paws, and the crystal gently settled into their circle. At that moment, they felt warmth and peace fill each of their hearts.
You have proven your harmony with the moon's magic, said the captain. Now, the power of the dance belongs to you.
The light of the moon began to fade, but the crystal continued to glow, filling the ship with tranquility. the water around became calm again and the whirlpools disappeared. The capybara family stood on the deck, looking at the crystal.
It was unforgettable, whispered Luna. And we went through the moon dance. And now we have another key, added Bob.
It will lead us to the next destination, said Papa Capybara, holding the wheel.
He looked at the horizon where the sun was slowly rising. Its golden rays mixed with the silvery glow of the crystal, symbolizing the unity of the magic of day and night.
The power of the moon and water, now with us. Onward to new challenges.
The ship moved forward, leaving behind the magical place where the moon and water danced in eternal harmony. Ahead awaited new mysteries and great discoveries. Capybara Chronicles Sea Adventures Story 10 Secrets of the Ancient Atlantean. The ship Sea Star once again glided over the water's surface, leaving behind the magical light of the moonlit waves. Several days had passed since their last adventure, when they left the dance of the moonlit waves. Time passed peacefully, and the family enjoyed a rare moment of silence. "That was amazing," said Lina, sitting on the edge of the deck. "The moonlit dance was like a dream we will never forget." "Yes, but it left something more in the heart," Bob added thoughtfully, examining the map. "As if now we understand the ocean better." Captain Dad stood at the helm, carefully watching the horizon.
We have gone through so many trials, but each new discovery only strengthens us. Ahead of us lie great mysteries that will help us grasp the hidden power of the ocean.
Soon the horizon was shrouded in mist, and the silhouettes of mysterious ruins began to emerge ahead, stretching deep underwater. The air was filled with a gentle whisper, as if the water itself was telling an ancient story.
Something about this mist seems familiar, Lina said thoughtfully.
Her eyes sparkled with anticipation.
It looks like what you were talking about. Captain, when we discussed the sunken cities, the captain slowly nodded.
His gaze remained fixed on the silhouettes of the ruins in the distance.
"You're right, Lina."
"This is Atlantis." His voice sounded solemn.
"Once it was the greatest city where magic and science thrived. But one day its magic became too strong, and the city sank underwater. Only a few secrets have been preserved, hidden from sight." Tika jumped with excitement.
Will we find these secrets? Maybe there's something there that can help save the ocean, the captain replied.
His tone became serious.
"If you are ready for the trials, ancient Atlantis is protected by magic that tests the sincerity of intentions and the strength of spirit. You must go through them to discover the truth."
The ship approached a place where the water became as clear as glass. A scene unfolded beneath them. Massive ruins covered in corals and seaweed descended into the depths. These were the remnants of giant ships, with arches and columns, adorned with delicate patterns resembling sea waves and stars. On some columns, fragments of ancient signs and symbols remained, which seemed to be trying to tell their story. "Incredible," exclaimed Mama Bara. "It's like the heart of an ancient city, as if still living underwater."
"But how do we get there?" asked the god. "It's too deep."
The crystal on the helm lit up and the captain's voice explained.
"The ship will create a protective dome, just like it did during our dive to the Pearl Reef. It will surround us with an invisible sphere that will provide air and protection. You will be able to descend with it and explore the ruins. But be careful, the magic of Atlantis is alive and will test you. This magic is more complex and ancient than anything we have encountered so far." The ship began to descend, and an underwater world unfolded around.
Fish of all colors and sizes swam between the columns, and the light from the crystal illuminated the dark corners of the ruins. Soon they reached the central square where a giant statue stood, holding a glowing orb in its hands. Could this be the center? Bob speculated, not hiding a slight uncertainty. This is probably a good place to start, but what if there's something here we haven't seen yet? As the family approached the statue, their gazes lingered on its majestic appearance. It was a figure crafted with grace despite the marks of time. The hands held a glowing orb, and the carvings on the stone depicted walls from the history of Atlantis. Fish, stars, and waves intertwined in an intricate pattern. The face of the statue was indistinguishable, but its eyes, hidden in shadow, suddenly glowed, flooding the square with a soft blue light. This light seemed to bring the entire square to life, and then a deep voice, low and enveloping, was heard.
Welcome, traveler. The voice of the statue resounded.
Its tone sounded like an echo from a distant past.
You have come to a sacred place where the secrets of Atlantis are kept. This knowledge is priceless, and not everyone can obtain it. If you wish to uncover it, prove that you possess wisdom. Solve the ancient riddle.
Glowing symbols suddenly appeared on the walls, beginning to form complex patterns.
This looks like a puzzle,
Tika exclaimed.
It seems we need to connect them so that the patterns form a map.
Bob suggested. The family began to work together. Bob, with a serious expression, studied the symbols, comparing them to the outlines on the walls. Alina paid attention to the smallest details that could be clues. Tika, noticing that one of the symbols resembled a starfish, suddenly exclaimed, "What if this is part of the path?" Bob initially wanted to object, but then he pondered.
Maybe you're right. If you combine this with the main pattern, it forms the movement of currents.
By synchronizing their efforts, the family slowly but surely found the right solution. When the last symbol fell into place, the patterns came to life, glowing brightly and pointing the way forward. Tika smiled proudly.
I told you it was important!
Passing through the narrow passage, the family found themselves in a vast hall, whose walls were covered with ancient patterns resembling moving sea waves. Tall columns adorned with glowing crystals rose up to the ceiling, disappearing into the shadows. The light of the crystal reflected on the water's surface, creating the sensation that the hall itself was breathing. The atmosphere was both mesmerizing and unsettling. Suddenly, the water in the center of the hall began to bubble, and a huge water serpent emerged from the depths. Its body shimmered with light as if it were woven from living water, and its eyes shone like two bright stars. The space filled with vibrations as its voice thundered, imbued with ancient power. Uninvited guests in the light of the caves.
It will be like an estate. With it, and with yourself, T-Son.
The family froze, exchanging glances, and Papa Capi stepped forward, firmly holding the helm, as a symbol of their mission.
We have not come to destroy. We seek knowledge to keep the balance of the ocean.
The serpent looked at him intently, then spoke.
Prove it, Umbrella.
Go through the viable labyrinth safely. Don't get knocked off.
The labyrinth was a network of moving currents that suddenly changed direction, forcing the ship to constantly maneuver. The currents shimmered with a soft light, as if they themselves were guiding and confusing at once. At the same time, Papa Capi held the wheel tightly, carefully watching every change in the water. But even for him, it was difficult to predict where the next current would lead. "A little more to the right," Bob shouted, peering at the map where the direction of the currents was constantly changing. Lina hurriedly checked the symbols on the walls of the labyrinth, trying to discern patterns. "There's a turn here. Get ready to change course. Wild." Standing at the bow of the ship, he stretched his paws forward and shouted, "I see the light. Keep straight. But suddenly the current changed direction and the ship swayed sharply. The family froze for a moment, fearing they might lose their way. Papa Capi focused, recalling the children's hints, and confidently turned the wheel, bringing the ship back into rhythm. As the last currents began to slow down, the light in the center of the labyrinth became brighter, and the water in front of them parted, revealing a passage. The serpent, who had been watching their trial, silently disappeared, leaving behind a faint glow. A new hall opened up before them, where patterned columns led the way, shimmering with a blue light. The final hall turned out to be a huge dome, adorned with frescoes depicting scenes from the life of ancient Atlantis. On the walls were depicted the city's inhabitants, who controlled the water currents and created magical structures. In the center of the hall stood 5 crystals arranged in a circle, each softly shimmering in a different color. The space was filled with a silence that seemed almost tangible. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a voice that sounded with particular solemnity.
In the army, the final test. Both discoveries. With this Atlantis we will be. I cannot see that indeed, for only together can you truly awaken the magic with the bloodlines equal and more.
The Capi family approached closer, carefully standing around the crystals. Each felt how the space around them began to pulse, as if reacting to their presence. Papa Capi, holding a paw on the nearest crystal, gently said, "We will do this together. Hold on to your crystals and focus on our goal." Lina closed her eyes, feeling the warmth from the crystal intertwine with her thoughts of family. Bob remembered how their knowledge helped them overcome difficulties. Tika, excited, placed his paws on the crystal, thinking about how their adventures made them stronger. Mama Bara felt her care, for each of them filled the crystal with a gentle light. As their energies began to intertwine, the crystal shone brighter. The light from them converged in the center of the hall, creating a complex map that floated in the air. An image of ancient history appeared on it, the source of Atlantis magic hidden in the very heart of the ruins. The map led to the heart of the ruins, where a huge crystal was located, powering the magic of the ocean. Capi explained.
This is the core. Atlanta! Its power helps maintain the balance of nature. You have proven yourselves worthy. Take a part of this magic to complete your journey.
The family took a small shard of the crystal, which glowed in their paws. They knew this gift would aid them in the upcoming challenges. The ship began to ascend, leaving the ruins behind. The light from the magical crystal gently shimmered, illuminating their path upward. Before the ruins vanished from sight, the space was filled with the familiar voice of the water serpent.
You have faced the trials of Atlantis with honor and proven your strength. More unity. In wisdom. Indeed, and courage revives magic. The Ministry System. Disclaimer!
The Capi family paused for a moment, gratefully accepting his words. Papa Capi slightly bowed his head, as if in respect.
Thank you. We will do everything to live up to this trust.
As the ship broke through to the surface, they were greeted by the soft rays of the sunset. On the horizon, a glowing spot was visible, the sign, "Next target." The Capi family, encouraged by their successes, gathered on the deck. "We are getting closer to the finale," said Papa Capi, gripping the wheel tighter.
But ahead, even greater mysteries and discoveries await us.
The family stood together, feeling that they had become even stronger, not just as a team, but as a family. Capybara Chronicles Sea Adventures. Story 11. The Battle for the Underwater Kingdom. The ship Sea Star was once again diving into the ocean depths, but now the tension in the air was almost palpable. The Capybara family knew that their great journey was nearing its end, but one of the toughest challenges awaited them ahead. Behind each wave lay the unknown, and the darkness enveloping the horizon was growing larger and larger. This place feels denser, as if it breathes danger quietly, said Pop, looking at the map where symbols began to flicker, as if warning of magic. It weakens here, the captain stated firmly.
If we don't stop the threat, the balance of the ocean will be destroyed. Everything we've done so far will lead us to this battle.
Tiko, tightly clutching his paws, looked at the line.
Does this mean we have to be strong, right?
We'll manage, as always. Lina smiled softly, but her gaze remained serious.
Yes, Tika. But this time we'll need to give it our all. We cannot fail.
As the ship approached the center of the underwater realm, the silence became almost ominous. The water around was strangely still, as if it was waiting for its peace to be disturbed. Suddenly, the surface of the water began to bubble, and from the depths emerged a vortex within which a giant figure could be seen. It was a creature woven from water and darkness. Its eyes glowed with a crimson light, and its voice filled the space with thunderous roars.
Glory to the creation! You have come to my realm!
The ocean no longer belongs to you. It is mine.
You are not right, said Papa Capi firmly, standing at the helm.
The ocean belongs to all living creatures. We will not allow you to destroy it.
The creature roared, and the water began to rise into powerful waves. The waves, as if alive, hurled themselves at the ship, but the Sea Star held firm. Prepare yourselves, shouted Mama Bara. We need to act together to deal with this threat. The ship maneuvered between the giant waves that the creature raised with terrifying ease. The Capybara family acted as one. Papa Capi confidently steered the wheel. Lina watched the movement of the water and gave commands. Bob intently studied the map and suggested directions. And Tika kept encouraging them all. Look, shouted Bob, pointing to a bright red light inside the vortex.
That's its source of power! If we can break through there, we'll have a chance to stop it.
Then we must break through.
Loudly, said Papa Capi.
Lina, hold the course. Tika, help with the ropes.
The ship rushed straight towards the vortex. The water around them sparkled with magical energy. But each new surge of the ship brought them closer to the goal. The waves were becoming more and more restless, but the starfish continued to move forward as if it felt the determination of its crew. When they reached the center of the vortex, the Capybara family realized that ordinary efforts would not be enough. Memories of journeys across the Atlantic and other trials came back to them. The glowing crystal fixed on the helm began to shine brighter, reminding them of the power they had gained. We must use it, said Papa Capi, looking at the crystal.
Only our combined strength can defeat this evil.
The family stood around the crystal. Each of them placed their paws on its surface, focusing their thoughts. Lina remembered the wisdom they had gained. Bob focused on analysis and precision. Tika thought about the courage and joy they found even in difficulties. And Mama Bara concentrated on her care for the family. The light from the crystal flared, creating a powerful beam that shot straight at the creature. The creature screamed. Its vortex began to disintegrate, and the body of water and darkness started to vanish, leaving behind tranquility. As the water calmed, a familiar figure of the water serpent majestically rose from the depths. Its body shimmered as if it were woven from pure water, glistening in the light of magical crystals. The serpent's head was adorned with patterns resembling ocean waves, shimmering with a soft, silvery light. Its eyes, deep and insightful, glowed with a blue light reflecting ancient wisdom. The serpent's voice sounded with respect and a slight solemnity.
You have protected the underwater kingdom. Your compassion, unity, and strength of spirit have restored the ocean. You have touched magic, proving that you are a worthy defender. Mama Bara replied with a smile.
We just did what we had to do. We are obliged to protect what is dear to us.
The serpent slowly bowed its head.
Your battle is almost over. The final step will determine fate. No, Olga, I nod.
The ship began to slowly rise to the surface, leaving behind the underwater kingdom that had regained its magic. Before surfacing, the water serpent, whose eyes softly glowed with a blue light, addressed the capybara family once more.
Your feat has restored not only the magic of the ocean, but also hope in its shield. Your courage and unity have renewed all of us. May the strength of Jan always accompany you on your journey.
Papa Capi bowed slightly, expressing gratitude.
It is an honor for us to be part of this world and to protect it.
The serpent disappeared into the depths, leaving behind a glow while the starfish continued its ascent. The family stood on the deck, watching the soft light spreading across the water, as if guiding them to their next destination. Papa Capi, looking at the horizon, spoke with confidence in his voice.
We have reached an important moment. Everything we have gone through so far has prepared us for what lies ahead. We need to be composed and ready for any challenges.
Tika confidently added,
We will manage.
We have already come so far, and now nothing will stop us. The ship surged forward towards the final destination that was to determine their fate and the future of the ocean. Capybara Chronicles Sea Adventures. Story 12. Return home with the Song of the Sea. The ship's sea stars smoothly cut through the ocean. Its sails, illuminated by the soft morning light, caught the gentle breeze. The Capybara family stood on the deck, enjoying a rare moment of peace. The outlines of their home shore were already visible on the horizon, and each heart was filled with warmth at the thought of returning home.
What an amazing journey, Lina said, looking at the sea's surface.
We've experienced so much, learned so much, Bob, holding a map in his paws, smiled.
And we've learned a lot. And more importantly, we've become stronger. Now we understand how important the magic of the ocean is, and we know how to protect it. Tika jumped in place. But it's still nice to return home.
I hope there's a big pie, or two waiting for us. Mama Bear laughed, hugging him.
Of course, Tika. But don't forget that the main thing is that we're always together.
The wind picked up. Its gusts carried with them a light scent of salt and freshness. The air was filled with a quiet sound, as if the ocean was whispering its ancient and farewell melody, full of memories of waves and depths. The line that now disappeared over the horizon enveloped the water with a soft silvery glow, leaving a path, as if inviting to follow its light into the unknown. It sounds like music, Tiko said, listening intently. Is the ocean singing? The ocean has always sung, smiled Papa Capybara. His gaze was filled with wisdom. We just learned to hear it. The ship began to slow down as it approached the shore. There was a special magic in the air that reminded the family of every trial they had gone through. The glowing crystal on the helm shimmered as if bidding them farewell, but its light became softer, as if reminding them that it was now always a part of their story. When the ship anchored at the familiar shore, the Capybara family joyfully noticed their friends rushing to meet them. The hedgehog, out of breath, was the first to reach the water's edge. His little paws waved in the air and the voice called out loudly,
Welcome home.
The squirrel, a little behind, carried a basket of berries and nuts. Her eyes shone with joy.
We were so worried about you. You'll tell us everything, won't you?
Even the owl, usually reserved and wise, looked unusually lively. He flapped his wings and coming closer spoke with a slight smile.
You have returned not just as travelers, but as heroes. Your deeds will be told in stories for many years to come.
Papa Capybara, shaking the hedgehog's paw, replied,
We both are glad to be back.
This journey was not easy, but the main thing is we are home again. Tika immediately jumped up and began enthusiastically recounting the whirlwinds, ruins, and the water serpent. Alina and Bob occasionally added details, describing their adventures, so vividly that their friends' eyes were alight with curiosity. The hedgehog nodded with respect.
You look like you've been through something great.
Indeed we have, replied Papa Capybara, shaking his paw.
But the most important thing, we kept each other safe and found what gives us the strength to keep moving forward.
In the evening, the whole village gathered for a feast in honor of the Capybara family's return. On the large table were dishes of fruits and nuts, and in the center stood a huge pie that elicited a joyful shout from Tik. The owl, raising a wing, caught everyone's attention.
Today we celebrate not only the return of our friends, but also their feat. They protected our ocean and showed that unity and courage can work wonders.
To the family capybar, everyone raised their cups of juice and shouted in unison, To the capybar. Later, as the noise of the celebration began to fade and stars lit up the sky, the village was enveloped in tranquility. The Capybara family sat by the campfire, enjoying the warmth of the fire and the soft light of the moon. The fire crackled, casting shadows on the faces of the capybara, who looked relaxed and peaceful after all their trials. Tika, yawning and rubbing his eyes with his paw, cozily settled on Mama Bara's lap, hugging her. Bob slowly shuffled the cards, as if recalling the details of their adventure. Alina gazed at the stars, whispering something about their connection to the sea. Papa Capybara silently watched the fire. His gaze was full of gratitude for returning home.
Do you think... Is everything okay with the ocean now? Tika asked in a sleepy voice.
Papa Capybara, thoughtfully looking at the fire, replied,
For a while, yes. But the ocean, like our lives, is constantly changing. Perhaps one day we will have to set out again. If it calls us.
Lina smiled, looking at the stars.
Akka, let's listen to its music.
It will always be with us. The family fell silent, enjoying the moment. Their journey had come to an end for the moment. Somewhere in the distance, the ocean whispered its stories, full of mysteries and secrets, as if reminding that it holds not only memories of the past, but also promises of new discoveries for those ready for new adventures.